If you want to be successful, if you want to make your dreams come true, if you want to change your life, then you have to learn how to stop quitting. I've mentored thousands of people. I've been studying success for the last 10 years. And let me tell you something. The number one common factor that I've noticed amongst all successful people is they didn't quit. This might sound obvious to you because obviously they didn't quit. That's why they became successful. But haven't you ever wondered what makes some people persistent and others quit almost everything they start? What is the differentiator? Is it a genetic? Is it a skill set? Well, in today's video, I'm gonna tell you exactly what makes the difference, and I'm gonna share 3 tips that I share with all the people that I mentor that's helped them stick through until they achieve their goals and achieve their dreams. Welcome to our channel. My name is Nima Attar. Smash the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get notified every time you have a new video, and hit that like button for us so we know that this is the type of content you wanna keep seeing. Here's the first reason why it's so hard for people to stick to things and why it's so easy for them to quit. They don't actually know what it takes to be successful. When I first started in business, I remember on a daily basis, I woke up with anxiety. I woke up with a lot of doubts on whether this is for me or not. And I used to think that those feelings meant that I'm not meant for success. I used to think that those feelings were a sign that I should quit and shouldn't do it. But then I remember I went to this one seminar and this person that I really looked up to who was very successful shared something that totally eased my mind on this. He said for the first 2 years of his business, every single day he felt like quitting. And I thought, wait, that sounds just like me. So me having these doubts, me having these anxieties, me feeling like quitting doesn't mean that I'm not cut out for this. It doesn't mean that I'm not mentally tough enough. It means that it's the part of the process to success. It means that everyone that succeeded had to go through that. So that helped me, put me at ease because I realized that I'm not the only one going through this. But sometimes when you're on your path to success, you think you're the only one struggling the way you are. But I'm here to tell you right now, everyone goes through the exact same things. Some people just push through and make it happen anyways. Others take it as a sign that it's not for them and quit too soon. Here's another reason why quitting is so easy. Because in order to succeed, you have to fail over and over and over again. And so many of us have been programmed to believe that failure means we're going the wrong way. That failure is a detour away from success. The truth is though, failure is part of the stepping stone to success. It's totally normal to feel that way because all the people we look up to that are successful, we only start looking up to them once they become successful. So we don't see all the failures they had to get there and we think, well, if we've only known them since they were successful, they must have always been successful. That's not the case though. Also, we've been programmed to think that failure is bad through the school system. Every time we failed, we got punished, so we were trained to think that failure is a bad thing and we should avoid it rather than pursue it. Everything looks like failure in the middle. Halfway through surgery, it looks like there's been a murder in the operating room. If you send a rocket towards the moon, about 90% of the time it's off course. It fails its way to the moon by continually making mistakes and correcting them. Now imagine if that rocket went back to Earth because he thought it was making too many mistakes and failing too many times. It won't do that because the rocket isn't programmed that way, but we are. So we need to change the programming. We need to understand that we have to be bad before we're okay. We have to be okay before we're good. And we have to be good before we're great. And most successful people that we look up to and we see all the time were bad for way longer than we think. Mr. Beast was bad for a very, very, very long time and got almost no views for a very, very, very long time before he blew up. So if there's only one thing you take away from this video, let it be this. Failure is normal, mistakes is okay. All you gotta do is learn from them, course correct until you get to where you wanna get to. And the only way you can do that is if you never quit and stick to it. Here's another reason why so many people have an easy time quitting. They don't realize that they need to be tested before they succeed. Look, from my experience, if you can stay consistent with your activities and you have the right level of enthusiasm for 90 days, you can build major momentum in your life. So if that's the case, the question for me was, why is it so hard for so many people to stick to a 9-day game plan? It's because they get tested. And the 3 tests are failure, distractions, and complacency. Let me share with you what I mean by this. I remember in the month of December of 2020, I was going for a major milestone in my business and I had to make $60,000 in that 1 month of income so that I can achieve that goal. Problem was I had never made that much money before. And also I was coming off 2 record-breaking months. So all the clients that I would have closed had already been closed. All the prospects that were in line had already been finished off with. So I had nothing going into that month. But I remember I told myself, this is the month that I proved to myself once and for all that the law of attraction, that, you know, putting your mind to things will make it happen is true. And I said, I'm going to give this month everything that I have. If I have to die this month, I'll die, but I'm going to make this goal come true to prove to myself once and for all of the stuff that I've been reading about and studying actually is true. And it's almost as if the minute I said that, God looked down and was like, okay, if you're really serious about this, I'm going to give you some tests and see what happens. That the day after I made that decision, I got COVID. And not any COVID. I got the type of COVID where I'm literally having night sweats to the point where I had to get up in the middle of the night, change my clothes, change my bed sheets because it was all wet up full of sweat. I had to sleep on towels that whole week. I barely got any sleep. And I remember I'm running my meetings on Zoom because it was lockdown and I'm sweating like crazy. And it's December in Vancouver, Canada. And if you don't know Vancouver, Canada, it's pretty freaking cold in December. So people are looking at me on Zoom like, are you okay? Why are you sweating? And I had to make up something like, oh, the heater's broken, so it's just too hot in here, because I couldn't tell my clients that I'm dying of COVID and I'm running 12 meetings a day because they would have thought I'm crazy. But that was the first test of distraction, and I pushed through that. The second week, all of a sudden I feel some teeth pain. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I realized my wisdom tooth, the last one actually, was making its appearance that particular month that I'm like needing to break my record and make it happen. So I'm like, this can't be happening. I go to the doctor, I have the surgery done, and my doctor says, listen, you can't talk for the next 3 days. Now, what I do for a living is talk. I'm in sales, I'm in financial services, so I can't not talk. But I tell my doctor, I'm like, oh yeah, don't worry, I'm not gonna talk, no problem. The minute I get home, I turn on my Zoom, I get into a meeting, and I'm literally bleeding from the side of my mouth while I'm doing this meeting. Now, I know what all of you are thinking, man, this sounds really extreme. This kid has some problems. I agree, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But here's my mindset. If you want to get extreme results, you got to do extreme things. And 2 weeks in a row, I was getting tested by distraction. First COVID, then my teeth. And both times, what did I do? I pushed on anyways. Look, it would have been very easy for me to say, oh, I got COVID. I'm going to push this goal off for next month. Oh, my wisdom tooth came out. I couldn't talk. I couldn't do my meeting, so I'm going to push my goal to next month. And everyone else would have believed me if I told them that, except who? Me, because I knew what I was capable of. I knew I could push on. And I remember when I was going through that, I kept telling myself, if Michael Jordan can play with the flu, I can play with COVID. I can play with my wisdom tooth coming out. Now you might be thinking, well, okay, now tell us the good news. So you push through that and then the goal happens. We're not done yet. Those were just a test of distractions. Third week of the month. Now we're approaching December 24th, December 25th. And you all know what happens around that time. Everyone's taking time off for Christmas. Everyone's going on vacation. No one's around anymore. How the hell do you make money in sales when no one is there for you to sell to? But I kept telling myself, this is the month that I said I'm going to prove to myself once and for all this is going to happen. And even though I had only made $25,000 up to that point. Now I know $25,000 is good money, but when you're trying to make $60,000 and you only have 1 week to do it, it's not enough. I kept telling myself, I have to keep pushing on. In order for me to succeed, I need to keep going from failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm. So I'm not gonna give up. I know it's gonna happen. It's always darkest right before dawn, and the dawn is coming. I kept telling myself this like a crazy person. But that helped me to keep pushing on. And guess what happened? We had 2 pay cycles left in the month. In my business, we have 8 pay cycles a month. So every week, we get paid twice. And we had 2 final pay cycles left. And I remember the one before the last, I got paid $36,000 in that one day. So I went from $25,000 to over $60,000. And by the end of that month, by the last pay cycle, I ended up actually making $70,000 instead of $60,000. Why? Because I passed the test that God had given me with flying colors. First, it was distractions, then it was failure. And right after that month was done, he tested me with complacency. Because imagine you just made the most money you had ever made, $70,000 in 1 month. It's pretty easy to go on party. It's pretty easy to go on vacation with your friends. It's pretty easy to take your foot off the gas pedal. But I knew that test was coming. So I reminded myself, I said, now that I have momentum, I got to keep building on it instead of stepping away. And instead of taking a break, I actually worked even harder. So the month after that in January, I ended up making $70,000 again. And that year, I ended up actually making close to $1 million. So I went from making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month to making $100,000 a month within a 3-4 month time span, just because I pushed on through those 3 tests and made it happen anyways. And that's the month that I realized that in order to be successful, you have to go through these tests. So whether you're facing distractions right now, whether you're facing complacency right now or failure, here's what I'm here to tell you. It's okay. It's normal. You should actually be excited because you're being given this test to see if you really deserve what you want. And if you can pass, on the other side, your goal, your dreams, everything is in reach. But please push on. And let me give you 3 tips for each of these. In order to pass the test of failure, you gotta move forward without a loss of enthusiasm. So as hard as it is, as much as you feel doubtful, you gotta remind yourself it's darkest right before dawn and everything happens for you, not to you. In order to pass the test of distractions, you have to be accountable. Whether it's accountable to your dreams or to a mentor, you have to have something that you're accountable to that keeps you going despite of what's happening in your life externally. And in order to overcome the test of complacency, you need to remember what your vision is. You need to remember where you're actually going so you don't actually get complacent halfway there because you started to have a certain lifestyle that you're never used to or certain recognition of results that you're never used to. If you can keep these 3 tips in mind, these 3 tests are very easy to pass. And if you pass them, you'll achieve everything that you want on the other end. Here's the final tip. If you want to stick with it, if you want to avoid quitting, if you want to make this year different than last year, stop comparing yourself to other people. Here's why that's such a big mistake. You're comparing their best qualities to your worst qualities. You're comparing the part of the journey they're showing you, which is usually their results, to all the part of your journey that you can see, which is all the failures and mistakes. So stop comparing yourself to other people and keep in mind, we all have to go through the same things to achieve success. We gotta go through hardship, we gotta go through pain, we gotta go through failure. But when you're looking at someone else on social media, you don't see that part, so you think they didn't have to go through it and it's only you. It's not. Stop comparing yourself to others unless you're comparing yourself in a way to get inspired. When I compare myself to others, I look at them and I say, if another human being could achieve that, then so can I. But when you're in a negative state of mind, when you're lacking belief in yourself, it's hard to do that. So here's my advice. Just put away comparing altogether until you're in a positive state of mind, until you're at a point where you have more maturity in this path, and then you can actually be inspired by others. But until then, remember, you have your own unique journey and that story will inspire certain people that someone else's story will never inspire. If you are gonna compare yourself with someone, compare yourself to who you used to be. And that should be so inspiring because we've all grown, we all develop, we all get better. So if you look back to how you used to be and compare yourself to that, that will actually give you encouragement. That'll actually give you enthusiasm to keep going because you realize how far you've come, even if it's not as far as someone else from the way you're looking at it. Hope you enjoyed that video and you got value from the content. I highly recommend you watch my video, EQ versus IQ, because the higher your emotional intelligence, the easier it is to pass the test that I mentioned, and the easier it is to persist when you feel like giving up. And the good thing about EQ, emotional intelligence, is that it's something you can develop and improve on. Before you go, comment below what are some things that you've done to help you persist when things got hard, and share this video with someone else who you feel like struggles with this area, or someone who you think can be reminded of why they should persist if they feel like quitting. Thank you for being with us today. Until next time,